Welcome to Streams of Income, hosted by best-selling author and entrepreneur Dr. David Powers, where we discuss streams of income, passive income, residual income, and even why there are dinosaurs and zombies in this intro. Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Streams of Income podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you are willing to give me some of your time to listen to either a business lesson or an interview with an amazing entrepreneur. So once again, thank you for listening to the Streams of Income podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hey, everybody. I am here with Wayne Seminoff. And I've been looking forward to this one because he is involved in a unique area of real estate that I've wanted to look into myself, just with the farm and everything that I own. And so he's going to tell us some pretty cool stuff about what's the name of your thing? Is it land or Junkland into Gold?
Junklandintogold.com.
Junklandintogold.com. I had forgotten the exact web address. And so y'all be sure to go there and check him out, junklandintogold.com. And Wayne, you've been involved in real estate for a long time, though, right? There we go. Yeah.
Junklandintogold.com.
Now, you've been doing this for a while, right?
And there's me. Yeah. I've been doing it for 40 or 50 years, a long time. Yeah. But the main, what I can do at Junkland into Gold is I buy junk properties from the tax sale. That once a year they have a tax sale, and you can buy it for $1,000. And then if you can fix any of the minor problems that they have with them, you can turn around and sell them for $400,000 to $500,000. And it's dramatic. And all you have to do is one. All you have to do is one. You don't have to do a lot of them. You know what I mean? And so what I did is I wrote 2 books and 50 videos. With all the knowledge I gained over the last 40 years in how to do this, and anybody who is diligent and wants to, make some money, they can do this. But you have to, be persistent and not give up. And but it's an alternate way that nobody else does. I don't think there's anybody else I've ever seen that does what I do, because I decided years ago I wanted to compete in the real estate market, but I want to be more creative because I didn't have any money. So you have to be creative when you don't have any money. And so I didn't have any money. And so I ended up going to these tax sales. And in those days you could buy a lot for $100. Yeah. And so I bought a bunch of these junk lots, and then I figured out how to fix them. It took me, several years to learn how to make them buildable. And, but I did learn, there's like 7 techniques that make them buildable really easy. And all you have to do is learn one of them to do it, to be good at it. You don't have to learn all of them. But, you buy a lot that's like landlocked, or it's too small, or it's wet, or it's steep. And you can overcome all those things simply, but you got to go to the city and then and use these techniques. Normally they don't, if you walk in the front door and say if it's buildable, they'll say no. But then if you say, well, how about if I get a variance? Is it buildable then? And they go, oh yeah, it is. So you have to suggest to them these techniques that I have, and then they go, oh yeah, we can do that. And the cities will actually help you do a variance because they support doing variances. That's where the lot's too small, and if you have use all the setbacks that they require normally, there's no footprint for a building. So you go and you say, well, I want to have a 5-foot setback instead of a 20-foot setback. And I did a lot in Seattle, downtown Seattle. I got 0 setbacks on it was a triangle on 2 sides and a 1-foot setback on the front. And I built a 3-story, 3,000 square foot house on that. It was a 1,000 square foot lot. It was 1,000 square feet. It's crazy.
Yeah, usually those setbacks will kill you.
Yeah, I know. So, and and also I want to tell people why I do this is that when I turned 80, I'm going to be 83 in a week. I realized I'm going to die at some point. I felt, I really, what's going to happen now? And I decided I wanted to share all the information I've learned in my life, all the wisdom that I have, with younger people who are, just struggling to try and get by and need some direction. And I decided to go ahead and do this program. And basically, it's like giving it away. It's online. You can buy it. And it's like $500. And also, if you do go online to buy it, if you put in FUN, it's half off. So
okay,
yeah, it's half off. Yeah, and it cost me $50,000 to put it together, so it's not a moneymaker for me. I just do it to try and defray some of the costs of making it.
Yeah,
but it's basically like giving it away, And any young person who really wants, if you're caught in a dead end job, and every month you go home, you pay your bills, you got nothing left over, and when your job's over, they fire you and you have nothing. And this gives you a side gig where you can go and it's a hobby. I use it like a hobby. Do it, and on the side, you go and you buy one piece or whatever. You go to these tax sales, and you work them, and maybe you work it for 6 months, a year or something. And if you do it just right and it turns out good, you'll make hundreds of thousands. You could be from 100,000 up. You can even make $1 million actually, but I don't say that because most people think that's crazy when I say shit like that, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true, but not believable, right?
It's not believable. Nobody believe it. Yeah. And
yeah. So junk land, though. So your term for junk land is just, basically land that nobody wants. It's at the tax sale now because nobody knows what to do with it or something like that.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And the key to what I teach, the key to buying land is buying it from people who don't want the land.
Okay.
And I call them don't wanters. So you only buy from don't wanters. And people who don't want their land, let it go in the tax sale because they don't want it.
Yeah.
Okay. They can't afford to pay the taxes or whatever, But that's the key. And even better than buying at the tax sale is calling the guys the day, like a month before the tax sale, and you buy it from them direct. Then there's no competition.
Okay.
So that's what I do mostly. And I'll tell you a story. A year ago, they had a tax sale in King County where I live. And then I saw this piece. It was a beautiful piece, a half-acre piece with water, sewer, and power. It's on a corner. It's got trees on it. It's gorgeous. And the lots in that area sell for $500,000.
Yeah.
I called the guy up. I said, why are you letting this golden nugget go in the tax sale? And the guy says, well, believe it or not, we tried to sell it, but the title's all screwed up, and we couldn't sell it. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we even tried to give it to the city of Issaquah, where it is, and they refuse to take it because the title wasn't clear.
Wow. And
so we're going to let it go on the tax sale. I said, but if it was buildable, it'd be worth, a lot, $500,000. He said, well, we're letting it go. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll buy it from you. And I said, will you take $500 for it? And he goes, what, do you think I'm crazy or something? And he says, I tell you what. I said, well, how much? And he goes, well, I have to split it with my sister. Why don't you make it $1,000 and I'll do it. And so I Venmo'd him $1,000 and sent him a deed. He signed it online. And in a week, I owned that property for $1,000.
Wow.
And one of my techniques I teach is clearing title. I'm an expert at clearing title. So I gave it to my attorney, told him to clear the title. And it took 3 months. In 3 months, he cleared the title. And at the end of the third month, that property was now, to me, worth $500,000.
Yeah. Wow. Man, so what I'm getting from this and the variances and stuff, sometimes it's a matter of just asking. People are afraid to ask.
I know. This was so beautifully simple. It was one phone call, and the conversation only lasted, 10 minutes or something, 15 minutes. And all you had to do is just poke around. And when I look at the tax sales thing, another thing I look at is I look for people who don't live here. Mm-hmm. If they don't live here, they live in, Omaha, Nebraska, and they own this junk piece, chances are they don't want her. So I call everybody who's out of state. That's another one I do. And, And oh, by the way, on this one that's worth 500,000, I'm greedy. So I went to the city. I said, "What can I do with this?" And they said, "Well, you can subdivide it because it's a half acre into 2 quarter-acre lots."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, do it." So I subdivided it. So I just finished the subdivision. Now the lot is worth $1 million. Okay, but I'm not over. I'm really greedy. So I went back to the city. I said, "Well, now what can I do with this?" He says, "Well, they just changed all the rules now, and you can put 3 houses on each lot in the city. And now each lot is worth 1.5 million. So the 2 lots together were 3 million.
Yeah. Wow.
And my total investment for this whole thing, is about $30,000 for, doing clearing the title and doing the short subdivision.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the multipliers are crazy. It sounds, like it's not real, but and even if I can't sell for $500,000 per unit, if I sell it for half that, I still make,
Yeah.
you can sell it for, 10 cents on the dollar and still make a lot of money. You know what I mean? So there'll always be a buyer at some point, if you put it on the market cheap enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the land's always going to be there.
Yeah. But that's a very unusual piece that turned out to be that good. Normally though, you can buy a piece like, I bought this one from a guy for $1,000 and, they wouldn't let you connect to the sewer. It was 15 feet in front of the lot, but they wouldn't let you connect to it because it's in different jurisdiction.
Oh.
So I called the sewer guy, and he says, "No, we're not going to let you connect." And I said, "Can I talk to your boss?" And then I talked to the boss, and he goes, "Well, I don't know if I'm going to let you connect." And then I said, "Well, look, I did a study, and I found I can connect to a sewer, but it cost me $500,000 to run it a mile away to the other sewer stuff." And I said, "Come on," I said, "Look, it's only 15 feet away." He says, "Well, okay, we'll let you connect." And so I put it on the market. I sold it for $60,000 30 days after I bought it.
Yeah. Wow.
And, it's just all it took was a phone call. Well, actually, I called them several times. I called them about 4 or 5 times. It wasn't one phone call. But it's something as simple as that. And you multiply, you get 60 times your money.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful thing for young people to have as a sidekick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You get really good at it. You can make them. You can make a millionaire. But $400,000 to a person who's living, month to month, that's enough to carry them for the retirement and everything, because
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so many young people want to get into real estate, but all they think about is like, single family homes, but getting a down payment on a single family home to rent out is crazy for a young person.
Yeah. And also get this. This is really cool. Let's say you get a lot like that and you get the problem fixed, whatever problem it is, and it's buildable and you want to live there. You can take that lot and you go to the bank and you say, "I want to build this house." You bring them a drawing of a house. "I want to build this house and I want a loan to build this construction loan." And the bank will take the lot as the down payment.
Oh.
So you don't have to cost you zero.
Yeah.
It costs you zero to build it. Zero. Your $1,000, your $1,000 to spend, and if you can fix the problem with not spending much money, and you go to the bank and they'll give you a construction loan and they'll give you the value of the lot if the house were built on it.
Oh, okay. So that's even better.
That's how they do it. So, like if you normal house, let's say you want to build a house, costs $500,000. 20% of that is lot value. So they'll give you, $100,000 down payment value credit for putting the lot in there, and you give them the lot, okay? And then you build it for free, and then you go back to them and you say, "Now I have my house. Can I have a takeout loan?" And you are, and you don't have to give a down payment. They'll just they'll switch the loan over to a long-term loan, and now your monthly payment will be less than your rent you're paying on your house.
Yep.
It turns out to be about half of what you normally pay for rent.
Yeah. Man, for a young person, and they could even build the house where it's got like an income property built into it or something too, and rent that out even.
Yeah, in fact, nowadays the new laws here allow you to do they call it an ADU. That means another little attachment to your house. It's a house, another house. And so you can build a duplex on your lot and then rent out half of it, and that makes your mortgage payment. So then you live in your house for free forever.
Yeah.
And it costs you $1,000.
You can't beat that.
I mean, it's crazy. All you have to do is know how to do it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and you teach all this in the course, right?
And it's all taught in the course. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, people could call me. Like I live my life to help people now. I've changed my ways. I used to be mercenary, making money and, cutthroat. And, I used to be a bad guy in the old days. But now my gift is to help people. And I'm glad to help anybody with any problem. And besides helping with real estate, I can help them with their personal lives too. Because I have a couple other sites I do. One is called, this one here, called Activate Love Energy. And even if you make a lot of money, you want to be happy.
Yep.
And Activate Love Energy teaches you how to be happy with a 1-minute meditation every morning. 1 minute is all you spend one day, every day, change your whole life. And then it puts you in a whole different mindset of being in happiness during the day when you're doing everything. And so if you make a lot of money, then you're happy. A lot of people that make a lot of money and they're lonely, they get weird, or, they get, who knows, it throws people off. But so that's one of my sites. And let's see here. Another site I have is people live a lot in fear because the news says, nuclear war and all that bullshit.
Yeah. There's always something tearing us apart.
Right. So I have another site. I'll show you this thing. This is called thefuturewasperfect.com. It's the second one down there. And what that does is you say the future was perfect. If you just say it and you picture it and you feel it, you'll feel happy. Because you think nuclear war, and then you go, but the future was perfect. And then what it does, see, you laughed? It makes you laugh. Yeah. And when you laugh, you're in happiness. See, and the whole site is just that term. That's all there is. You just say the future was perfect. That's it. It's not complicated, And I teach a lot of people that, but I taught my daughter this one, and she goes into fear she hears politics, news, and stuff, and goes into fear all the time. And I say, well, just say this after you watch the news or just see some bullshit thing that scares the shit out of you. Say this at the end every time, and she does it. And she says, Dad, that really works. It diffuses all the fear energy.
Yeah.
So that's another one I do. And I have a new one. This is even shorter. This is when fear comes up, you say, fuck fear, and laugh. Yeah, that's it. And so the site is called Fuck Fear and Laugh, And
you probably had an easy time getting that domain name, didn't you?
Yeah, those are yeah. And the other thing I like to teach, which is really dramatic, most people have no clue about, is it's how to be happy every day with your mind. Because our minds make us unhappy. Generally, when we're unhappy, it's the mind does it. It's the words you say to your mind that make you have feelings. Most people think feelings can happen, and then the words go to your brain and say, "Well, I feel sad." It doesn't go that way. Where it goes is you say the words, "I feel sad," and then the emotion comes and you feel sad. You got to understand that's how it works. And I call it, like when you have repetitive words like I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I call it a record. So you're playing a record, the sadness record, and you play it 1,000 times a day or whatever. Some people do that. And that makes you sad. And all you have to do to change the emotion is change the words. So you change the record. So what I teach people is to picture something that makes you really happy or opposite of sad, whatever, and picture that. And put that into words and put that on the record, like I feel wonderful and happy and delightful today, something like that. And you keep, every time the sad record plays, you play the negative record, the positive record to overcome it. So you just flip the record.
Yeah.
So you say, I'm sad. Say, no, I'm really happy that I have a perfect life. I feel wonderful. Or one thing I do is I make a picture too. I change the record to a beautiful picture of lying on the beach down in Maui with the water and the sand and and the smell of the ocean. And if you do that over and over, you can conquer any negative feeling, because the negative feelings are created by yourself, by the words you say to yourself. And you just change the words. And that's the whole, if you learn this trick, your entire life becomes happy.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize how negative self-talk will tear you down.
Yeah, right. In fact, what the rules are, never say anything negative to yourself ever. And if you do, which we do automatically, as soon as you see yourself saying the negative word, change the record to a positive word, and that works with anger too,
Yeah.
It's I have a trick I do with road rage. I'm a road rager. If somebody cuts me off, I want to go and break their window and tear their head off, and break their arms and kill their kids and their dog and their goldfish. And so instead of doing that, what I do is I go into my love energy meditation, which I do the 1 minute thing. And I go into it and I remind myself what I felt that morning, that love energy. And I make it as big as I can. And then I shoot it over through the air to the guy in the car in front of me. And I do that. Once I do that, all my anger disappears completely. And also I feel like I've made that guy who cut me off feel happier too. I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel that. Yeah. But once it's done, I have no anger. And when I drive by the guy, I wave at him and smile at him, and it's gone. And it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful technique, and I'm a perfect one to do it because I'm a real asshole when I drive. I mean, I cut people off. I do all the bad stuff. And but I'm getting much better at that now. And yeah. So, anyways, these are all little tricks.
Yeah.
To make, if people want to use these things, they can go to those sites. I'll put them up here again, and
I'll put a link in the show notes for all of them too, including that new one.
Yeah, and it's amazing how you can change your own life, and nobody knows that, and nobody teaches that. No, nobody teaches that. And you go to psychiatrists, they say, well, tell me about your childhood and all this bullshit, and that's a complete clusterfuck. You just don't even want to do that. It's just, it's terrible. And because that doesn't fix things. All that does is tear the scab off the wound. They say, tell me how you got beat up by your dad, and that makes you feel bad. See, you're putting the record, the record you're playing is your dad beating you up, and that makes you feel bad. Change the record. And make a fake. What I do is I make a fake record. I say my dad loved me and kissed me and hugged me. And every time I have I think of the negative part. I switch the record. I say I had a perfect dad. He was wonderful and loving and caring. And I make that picture. And then all that negative emotion goes away.
Yeah,
it's so simple, and it's the simplest technique ever. And if people use it, they'll be happy ever after. Forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Forever. Well, I mean, that whole thing about fake it till you make it.
That's and that's true. And I proved it to myself the other day. I had a real negative situation I ran into in a business thing, and I was full of fear because I thought this guy's going to sue me and all this shit. And so when I left there, I was fearful. And then I sat in my car and I said, well, now you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? So I sat in my car. I said, okay, I'm going to change the record on this thing. So I was in great big fear, and I sat in my car for 20 minutes, making the picture of me on the beach, laying there with all these beautiful ladies running around and stuff, and I kept changing the record. And by the end of 20 minutes, I was laughing my sides out in happiness. But it took 20 minutes. I had to do it, over and over and over. It didn't just not one time. But I did it where I finally got it. And once I did that, it erased that whole fear thing completely, even in the future for future days. And if it popped up in the future just a teeny bit, I went quickly to the happy picture, and it erased it immediately. Then it was really easy to erase.
Yeah. And so if this works with you with road rage, it should work for anybody, right?
Yeah, I'm, if it works for me, I'm a real asshole, and I'm the worst driver ever. People hate me, but it does work, and it works, and I feel like when you generate that love energy and you send it out to people, I think they can really feel it. I think there's something to that. I don't, and when I send it out to that person, I think they feel better, even though they cut me off. You know what I mean? And they probably cut me off because they have anger in them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I'm hoping, that they benefit also from me doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that positive or negative, it's contagious.
Yeah. And I was at Costco the other day, and I'm waiting for a parking place. It's real crowded. I waited for 15, 20 minutes. Finally, the place opened up, and this guy zooms in and takes my parking place. Okay, so it happened to me 3 times, because I go there every Saturday. The first time I went there, I did my road rage stuff. I went to the door, I was pulled on the door, get your ass out of here, da. And then I walked away from there. I went, Wayne, what are you doing? You're a love person. This is not right. So let that go. The next week, a person did the same thing to me, and I wanted to do the bad stuff. I went up to him with love energy. I walked up to him. I said, would you guys please be so kind to move your car back? I've been waiting here for a long time. And I have my lady, she's a handicapped person. And, would you help me? And then they said, sure, and then they did it. So I was able to, I switched me being walking the walk and talking the talk, because I'm naturally an anger person, and I like anger. I love getting in fights and all that shit. So it's a negative thing, and so this heals me and to be in a healthier place, and and my first response is anger, but then I got to stop it and bring it into love energy. Just you catch it and then bring it down.
Yeah,
and it makes the world a better place.
Yeah, and it's better than getting in a fight and going to jail.
That's true. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Wayne, as we get close to winding up, one question I always like to ask everybody is, aside from your own stuff, because I'm going to put links to everything, but what are your top 3 favorite resources to help people in life, like books, podcasts, anything like that? Like if somebody were to ask you for 3 recommendations, what would that be?
Well, I find I'm on Facebook. And if you go on Facebook, they have this Buddha guy that says these little sayings, like it's about a 1-minute thing. And it's basically what I say. And it's good to see, if you go on Facebook, I don't know what the guy's name is, but it's this little good-looking Buddha guy. He's kind of happy little guy, and with the robes and stuff. And he says these sayings, and they're what I'm saying, think positive, don't think negative thoughts and stuff. I think that's a good thing to do on Facebook. That's because he's spreading the word, the word of be in love energy, be happy, never say negative words to yourself. He just used other words to say it, but it's the same program that I push, and as far as a resource. Well, the best resource is going to what I go. This is where you go, because this has it. This has got it all in it. I mean, that's if you go there and you just learn one thing from it, your life will be better. Yeah. You can make money and be happy.
Yeah, make money, be happy.
Yeah,
that's the worst thing if you make money and you're still unhappy. I mean, what was the point?
And a lot of people, real rich people, a lot of people that are unhappy. They're just.
Yep.
So.
Definitely. Well, Wayne, I appreciate you coming on.
All right. You can be poor as dirt and be happy as could be.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. You can't.
Some of the
You
happiest
can't.
people I've ever known I've met in other countries.
Yeah. Yeah, you can the happy. You can be. Yeah, it's just a state of mind. You get the right state of mind, and you win.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Well, Wayne, I appreciate it, and thanks for coming on and talking to us about your stuff and your strategies for doing better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I enjoyed chatting with you, and thanks for reminding me of to remind myself to stay in love energy and keep the right record going.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe premeditate before you go to Costco on Saturdays.
I know. Well, actually, I've been doing that. I warm myself up.
Yeah, you got to get ready.
I know. No, it's crazy. I was there last time, and a lady came up behind me and beat the horn at me while I was waiting. And my first response was, "Fuck you!" And I go, "Oh wait, no. I send you all the love in the world that I can." I had to get over the spike, and then I.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Wayne, you have a good day.
All right. Ciao, bambino.
Yes, sir. Hey, everybody. Before we close out, first of all, I hope you enjoyed that podcast, whether it was an interview with an amazing entrepreneur or a business lesson for me. I sincerely hope that you gain something from it that you can use in your life moving forward. Before I leave, though, I need to mention that this podcast is sponsored by Lowe's Home Improvement Stores. I have become a Lowe's creator. It's a pretty cool thing because on this farm, I'm looking out the window right now and seeing all the things that I want to do around here. Most of these things I can do with products from Lowe's Home Improvement. And so I'm excited to be a Lowe's creator. If you want to check out some things from them and order some stuff and see my specially curated Lowe's storefront, you can click in the show notes. There's a link there for you. And I hope you build some amazing things. And hey, you know what? If you do, send me pictures. I would absolutely love to see the amazing things that you're building at your house using Lowe's products or anything else, really. I'm just curious. I want to know everything about you and everything about the cool projects you're doing because I'll be honest with you, I get some neat ideas for things I want to do at my house as well. All right, y'all take care. Thanks for listening.